Have you ever felt a presence in a place so holy you thought it must be an angel? Or perhaps something else entirely? Tonight, I'm going to tell you a story that blurs the line between the sacred and the spectral. A story that took place in the hushed reverence of a candlelit prayer room. It was a late autumn evening, the kind where the air outside is crisp and carries the scent of rain and fallen leaves. Inside the old stone chapel, the evening prayer service was underway. The room was bathed in the warm, flickering glow of dozens of votive candles, their tiny flames dancing like captured stars. The air was thick with the rich, heady aroma of melting beeswax and the sweet, almost cloying scent of frankincense. Parishioners were scattered among the pews, heads bowed, their whispered prayers a gentle hum that filled the sacred space. I was there, near the back, finding solace in the quiet repetition of the liturgy. My eyes drifted towards the altar, a grand structure of carved marble, where the priest stood leading the service. And that's when I saw her. To the side of the altar, partially obscured by a large stone pillar, stood a figure. It was a woman, or at least it had the shape of one. She was draped entirely in white, a soft, flowing fabric that seemed to absorb the candlelight rather than reflect it. A delicate white veil covered her head and face, rendering her features completely anonymous. At first, I didn't think much of it. Perhaps a nun from a visiting order, or a woman in deep personal prayer, choosing to remain veiled. But as the service continued, a strange stillness about her began to unnerve me. Everyone else swayed slightly, shifted their weight, coughed, or turned a page in their prayer book. She, however, remained perfectly, unnaturally still. It was as if she were a statue carved from moonlight. My curiosity got the better of me. I tried to catch a glimpse of her feet, but the long white garment pooled on the floor, obscuring them. I listened intently, straining my ears over the murmur of prayer, for the sound of her breath or the slightest rustle of her clothing. There was nothing, just the crackle of candle wicks and the priest's resonant voice echoing through the nave. Then a new scent began to weave its way through the incense. It was the unmistakable, perfumed fragrance of lilies, fresh lilies, as if a bouquet had just been placed on the altar. But there were no new flowers. The scent seemed to emanate directly from where the veiled woman stood. The combination of incense and lilies was overwhelming, almost dizzying, a fragrance both heavenly and funereal. The service progressed, and my attention remained fixed on the mysterious figure. I watched as people went up to the front for communion, passing right by the spot where she stood. No one seemed to notice her. They didn't alter their path, didn't glance in her direction, didn't even flinch as they moved through the very space she occupied. It was as if she were completely invisible to them, a private apparition meant only for my eyes. My heart began to pound against my ribs. This was no ordinary parishioner. As the final blessing was given and the congregation began to stir, I kept my eyes locked on her. I half expected her to turn and walk away, to join the slow procession of people heading for the exit. But she didn't. Instead, as the last notes of the closing hymn faded, she began to dissolve. It wasn't a sudden disappearance. It was a slow, graceful fade, like smoke dissipating in the air. The white veil thinned, becoming translucent, the solid form behind it turning to mist. Within seconds, she was gone. The only thing that remained was the scent. The overpowering fragrance of incense and lilies lingered in that one spot by the altar, a spectral perfume hanging in the air long after the figure had vanished. I slowly got to my feet, my legs feeling weak. I approached the altar, my footsteps echoing in the now emptying chapel. The air was cooler where she had been standing, a distinct drop in temperature that raised goosebumps on my arms. The smell was so strong, so real. I later spoke to one of the older church custodians, a man who had worked there for over 50 years. I described what I had seen, expecting him to be skeptical. Instead, he just nodded slowly, a knowing look in his tired eyes. He told me stories, whispered legends of the Lily Bride. Decades ago, a young woman was set to be married in that very chapel. On the morning of her wedding, just hours before she was to walk down the aisle, she was involved in a tragic accident and passed away. She was buried in her wedding dress, her white veil, holding her bridal bouquet of white lilies. They say her spirit, unwilling to leave the place where she was meant to find her greatest happiness, returns from time to time. She doesn't moan or weep. She simply stands by the altar during evening prayers, a quiet, peaceful observer, forever waiting for a wedding that will never come. She never harms anyone, never interacts. She just watches, surrounded by the scent of her bridal flowers and the holy incense, a soft figure draped in white in the candle room. So if you are ever in an old church and you smell the sudden, sweet scent of lilies mixed with incense, take a look towards the altar. You might not be alone. You might just catch a glimpse of the white veil, the gentle spirit who still waits for her perfect day. Thank you so much for listening to my story tonight. If you have your own unexplained encounters, I'd love to read them in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe and keep your eyes open.